Alright, so this is going to be my first full video, and I guess where I need to start is probably from the beginning, generally how things work. But before we start with my story, we have to kind of start before that to know where I came from. So, I've thought about how I'm gonna tell you guys kind of how everything goes, so bear with me again. And here we go. I was conceived in the early 80s. By a 17-year-old woman and a 30-something-year-old man. From what I've been told, that was a consensual coupling. However, in my definition of consensual, along with the history there, that doesn't feel very consensual for an almost 40-year-old man to be sleeping with a 17-year-old girl. In any case, that's what happened, and that's how I was conceived. She had ran away from home. My 40-something-year-old sperm donor apparently was pretty big into drugs, and stayed high a lot. So that wasn't a very good situation already. But before that, the 17-year-old girl came from a home with extremely religious ties. I would consider it a cult, because later on I do. She did not consider it a cult. But I guess this is about my perception of things, so she came from a religious cult. He, by all accounts, apparently was a scoundrel, to say the least, and had apparently already fathered another child. It didn't have anything to do with him. And as I was told, the first time that they were together, surprise, I was there. So the reason I kind of spend some time on this is it's pretty important, because this plays a pretty big role in how that 17-year-old ended up speaking to that child. I was told prior to this that at one point when she had, I guess, done teenage things and escaped out of her bedroom window one night to go have some fun. She was sexually assaulted by a neighbor guy. My understanding, I don't believe, was ever brought to the attention of her parents. So, I mean, at the time, her father was a alcoholic, and again, her mother was deep in the cult. So, she had a lot going on in her home life as well. But again, the first time that she apparently had consensual togetherness brought about me, and so continues my journey. Apparently, the entirety of her pregnancy, she was repeatedly kicked and beaten, even in public, apparently, from what I was told. Obviously, that would do a number on somebody who clearly already has issues with their growing up arrangements. So take that as you will. It's a little unclear to me exactly how things turned out, but from what I understand, I was conceived in Louisville, and I was born in Indiana, southern Indiana. And apparently that 40-something-year-old man who was my sperm donor found out where she had escaped to, apparently, and had told her that if he found her, he would kill me in front of her and then kill her. I found this out when I was in middle school, that essentially my attempted murder when I was a child, when I was an infant. At one point in time, he had caught her somewhere outside holding me, attacked her, and I don't know exactly how it happened, but basically ended up scraping my head all the way down a brick wall, causing some problems there. And this is, by the way, all third party. I don't obviously recall any of this, but this was what was told to me as I was growing up, so I can only recite to you what I was told. But I was also told that at one point in time when I was very, very young, I think around 1 or 2, I want to say, maybe. I don't know if I was even that old. Apparently there were some shoes at a store that I wanted. She couldn't afford them. He wanted to see her. She told him that if he cared about me, he would buy those shoes, leave them at the doorstep. And he came over with the shoes and wanted to come in. Tried to use that as a sex favor, which apparently she denied, and he took the shoes with him when he left. So those were kind of the first intros to where I came from. Basically, being used as a sex pawn, and being threatened, my life being threatened, which is interesting, to say the least, that your life starts off that way. But, I was told that his mother, though, was a good person, and I remember speaking with her, and I believe it was middle school at one point, and I spoke with her over the phone. I'm assuming my biological mother reached out to her, I'm guessing. I spoke to her on the phone, and she seemed like a really nice lady, and she had much more affection to me than what I didn't even know this woman, who was supposedly my grandmother by rape, birth, conception, I don't know. Supposedly she helped take care of me. But I don't know her. I did attempt to meet her at one point, as an adult, but it never did work out, and she passed before I could actually, meet her. That comes later, but nevertheless. So, yeah, that's kind of where I started at. Very poor, very poor. We lived in people's homes, either in their basements. I think at one point we even rented a garage out. A garage. It wasn't even a full garage. It was like a shed or something. As you can imagine, I was born right after her 18th birthday. Like a week, not even a week after, or right at a week after. So, it's, she didn't graduate high school. She quit, I believe, her junior year, I think. So she wasn't she wasn't a high school graduate. So, getting jobs then was a little bit easier than getting jobs now. But she still, it wasn't like she wasn't gonna be a doctor. She waited tables and worked factory jobs and, those kinds of things. So, I grew up quite poor. I was always reminded, I was always told how much we didn't have, never to ask for anything. You don't ask for anything, never. You don't whine, you don't complain, you don't ask for shit. Nothing. You don't ask for anything. Actually, to the point that apparently when I stayed with my mother's mother at one point when I was younger, she thought that there was something wrong with me because she took me to the store and I never asked for anything as a child. And she asked her daughter what was wrong with me. But I guess you learn those things when you don't have anything, and when you have someone constantly reminding you of just how broke you really are and the fact that having you was a burden. You know, you're too expensive. Things are too expensive. We can't afford those extra things. Things like that. So, so that's kind of, I was born in a hospital in southern Indiana, to this 18-year-old woman, who was there by herself. No 40-year-old to hold her hand, and no mother at the time, when she gave birth, was there. So it was just her, and that's the start of me. So again, I don't remember a whole lot. Just these are a lot of the things that I was told. A lot of my memory has been pushed to the backs. I've often been asked, do you not remember any of the good times? And I guess, to be honest with you, your brain does a lot of things to keep you from going nuts, going crazy, keeps you from wanting to die all the time. So in order to do that, your brain does things to keep you in check as best as possible. That's how wonderful our brains are. They watch out for us when somebody else can't. And yeah, I mean, I remember some good things really, really stick in there. Some really great things really stick in there. But most of the bad things are at the forefront, and I think that's just because I had to, hide from those for so long. So, in any case, yeah, so, I was born in the early 80s, to a mother of 18 without a father, present. I didn't know who this person was other than what I was being told as I grew up. Also, at about the age of probably 5.5 or 6 or so, I'm not sure exactly when they necessarily met, but around 6 is when my baby sister was born. We're about 6 years apart. And yeah, so my birth mother met another guy, married this guy, got pregnant, gave birth to my baby sister, and so continues another layer of drama. Things do not pick up from there. So being in this family is where I got my last name at. This guy legally adopted me, but I would say that he was dad for a short time, and this one was a hard one to get over, mainly because this was the first time that I ever felt like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like. We're out playing ball and doing things, but you know, behind the scenes things were pretty rough. I'm not sure what that was. But in any case, they met and married. My sister was born in the late 80s. So begins this the Gibbons saga of madness. When they married, we initially lived in a trailer behind his family's home. Literally right behind the house. I mean, you could spit on the house if you opened up a window. It was that close. And then we were out in the middle of nowhere. There was like nothing around. They had a farm that they grew tobacco, and they had cattle, some pigs, but not a lot. I mean, it was a small amount. But the big thing there was we grew tobacco there, which, if any of you have worked on a farm, kudos to you if you've done it for long term, because man, that is some hard work. Yeah, so the typical farm stuff, you know, planting and growing and harvesting and hanging and drying and pressing and packing and the whole 9 yards when it comes to tobacco. And then you know, of course, the fun country stuff. So, you know, growing up, it was just my sister and I on bikes, and, you know, riding out into the middle of the woods and creating fun stuff out there, right? You know, just we had our hideouts out there, and I mean, loads of fun, right? I mean, just loads of fun. There was always something fun to get into. There, you know, you could be out in the woods just for hours and hours. I mean, you could lose yourself out there, and you didn't have to worry about anything, or man, you could just forget about everything. And now, as an adult, I think back and I think, man, you know, as a kid, I wonder what someone else's childhood was like when they got to play in the woods. Was that a relief from real life, or was that just everyday imagination? Because mine was, I tried to stay gone as long as I could, you know. But yeah, that was being lost in the woods. You know, with my sister was probably some of the best times that I had out there. You know, it was a really good time, but I was also a really angry kid. There was a lot of stuff going on that turned me into a pretty angry kid, and I was turning into somebody that I'm not very proud of. I did a lot of mean things to my sister that I shouldn't have done, which, you know, looking back, I mean, you know, I wasn't the adult. I definitely needed some help. I needed some assistance there, and I needed some guidance, but, you know, instead I kind of took my frustrations out on the person that was below me, I guess, because it was the only way to get some frustration out. And then, of course, every time that I was, you know, a jerk to her, I felt really awful, really awful. So, but we'll get into some more of the things a little bit later. This is a lot of rambling, a lot of stuff, and so at this point, I'll leave it at about roughly about 6 or 7 or so. And at this point, I'm yeah, my sister's there, and I'm there. I'm not the only one anymore, and we will pick this up later. I just want to see if this is hitting anywhere, or if this is going to do anything for anybody. But again, if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to either message on here, or you know, message Facebook or something like that if you want. So have a good day.